Hello all, Mellody M here. Let's get started. A rental car agency charges $170 per week plus 25 cents per mile to rent a car. How many miles can you travel in 1 week for $400? So what I'm first going to do is go ahead and underline the helpful information that was given to us. So the first thing I'm going to underline is the $170 per week. All right. The next thing I'm going to underline is the 25 cents per mile. All right. And the last thing that I'm going to underline is the total, which is $400. All right. So now we need to identify what the question is actually asking for. What are we looking for? And if we assess the question once again, we find that we're trying to determine how many miles can one travel in 1 week. So that's the other piece of information. And I'm going to highlight that in a different color, just to let me know that that is the piece of information that we're solving for. Okay, so now from this word problem, we need to form an equation. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jot down the information that was underlined. So the information that was underlined, starting with $170. Now, if you notice, the word that's separating the two numbers that we are dealing with is the word plus. And plus, you should always assume that it is going to be addition. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and jot down the other piece of information that we underlined, which is the 25 cents. Now, being that for every 25 cents per mile, we need to represent that per mile with the variable x. All right, and now we're going to equal it to $400. All right, so now we're ready to solve. So if I'm trying to solve for x, the important thing to know is that I cannot touch it. So what I like to do is I like to circle that coefficient. And the coefficient is just the number in front of the x. Now, when you have an x paired with a number, that tells you to multiply. Always remember that. But in the end, you will do the opposite operation, which is division. All right, so now let's go ahead and deal with this 170. That is a positive 170. And if we want to move everything over, which that is the goal, because the key is to move all regular numbers on the same side of the equal sign and keep all coefficients and the variables on the other side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 170 from both sides. Because as I stated earlier, that is a positive 170. All right. So now, 170 minus 170 is obviously 0. So that we can cancel out. Now we're just going to jot down the information that we have left in the problem. So I'm going to bring down the 0.25x. And now I'm just going to simply subtract 170 from 400. Looks like we're going to do some borrowing here. 3 minus 1 gets you 2. And then obviously 10 minus 7 gets you 3, ending up with 230. So now, as previously stated, when you have a number in front of a variable, that tells you to multiply. But since we're dealing with inverse operations, the opposite of multiplication would be division. All right. And obviously, what we do to one side, we always do to the other side when dealing with equations. All right. So now, to simply get our answer, we need to just divide 230 by 0.25, which would get you the answer of 920 miles that one can travel. Thanks so much for watching.